If you've ever woken up to find a mob on your dock and a woman in designer heels waving auction papers, let me tell you, you're having a stranger morning than most. That was the day I learned my floating shack, as she so sweetly called it, was supposedly being sold off by noon, and not just to anyone, but to the very neighbors who'd spent years wishing me gone. You ever tasted the salt in the air when you know a fight's coming? That's what Sapphire Bay felt like at 7:30 a.m. The sun barely up, Celeste Harrington, coral, lipstick killer smile, and a voice that could slice bread standing on my pier, backed by 47 rubberneckers, all with their phones pointed at me waiting for a show. She had no idea she was starring in her own downfall. I set my coffee down slow as you please, like a man who knows he's holding the winning card. There was an old map in my waterproof case, a relic that smelled of secrets and vanilla edges, yellowed by 100 years of hurricanes. I pulled it out, careful not to smirk. Mrs. Harrington, you just committed federal trespass on private maritime territory. You should have seen her face tan draining away, mouth opening and closing like a beached grouper. The crowd, all ready for my public execution, started to shift, some looking at her now, not me. 72 hours later, Celeste would be wearing cuffs taken down by the FBI, and I'd own every splinter of Sapphire Bay Marina, $89 million worth. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's back up to how a washed-up Navy engineer found himself battling the queen of HOA darkness, and how on the brink of becoming someone I couldn't stand, I found a better way. My name's Beckett Sterling. 18 months ago, I was just another vet trying to remember why I got out of bed. 8 years in the Navy, trained in things most people would rather not know about: underwater demolitions, infrastructure stuff that sounds impressive until you realize nobody hires you to wire explosives in suburbia. I was scraping by, fixing pipelines, living in a rented room, when I saved Harrison Blackstone. Yeah, that Blackstone from drowning. One minute he's shivering on my fishing boat, the next he's offering me a life I never asked for. He handed me the keys to an old ocean observation station built to watch for Soviets, now a battered beauty 300 meters off the Carolina coast. Teak bulletproof glass, hurricane-proof pillars, sunset so gold it hurt your eyes. He signed it over for $1, said it made us even for a life saved. That place was my second chance after the Navy ditched me and cancer stole my wife, Sarah. For 6 months, it was just me, the waves, a workshop, and memories I couldn't bury. Then Celeste rolled up in her white Bentley, the plate reading Celeste 1 like a Bond villain with a fresh manicure. She brought an entourage, 2 women carrying iPads and egos, all moving in formation. She hit me with the "I'm president of the Sapphire Bay HOA" line before she even reached the door. She called my home an eyesore, said the HOA had jurisdiction, waved some legalese at me thicker than a Sunday roast. I knew that paper was trouble, the kind of vague, overconfident document written by someone who just learned the word jurisdiction. She tried to buy me out $300,000, all cash. I almost laughed in her face. That house was worth 10 times that, not counting the water rights. But Celeste didn't care about history, just obstacles. When I turned her down, she got cold. "We have ways to encourage compliance," she said. Threatened me with fines, liens, legal hell. Told me to ask the Hendersons about how it ends. They'd been driven into bankruptcy, vanished to Kentucky. I was in for a war, the kind fought with paper cuts and sleepless nights, not bullets. The violation notices started landing, metal surfaces unpainted. It was stainless steel, excessive ocean noise. Good luck silencing the Atlantic barnacles on the pillars, dolphins congregating without HOA permission. $8,000 in fines in 2 weeks. Then came the calls, the inspectors, the late-night concerned citizen drive-bys. My mailbox stuffed with threats. I started keeping a harassment folder, planning to hand it to my lawyer. Robert Williamson, retired professor, and the only guy who fished more than he talked, warned me. Celeste did this to the Hendersons, the Winds, the Blackwoods. She gets what she wants, uses the HOA, the courts, her connections. Her husband was a judge, her cousin, the county commissioner. It was a racket, all legal on the surface. That's racketeering, I said. Robert just nodded, proving it's another story. One night I nearly lost myself. Woke to the sound of power tools, two goons trying to rip down my security cameras. I had my Navy kit in the workshop, muscle memory itching. I picked up my diving knife, ran through a plan that ended with a boat accident nobody would trace back to me. I could have done it too, slipped under the pier, punched a hole in the hull, left those guys stranded in the dark. For a moment I was someone I didn't want to be. It wasn't fear or the law that stopped me. It was a wedding photo of Sarah on the wall, her voice in my head, real strength isn't what you can do, it's what you choose not to do. I put the knife down, called 911 instead. The cops came, the goons ran. Nothing came of it, but I knew what I had to do, win this war by the book. That's when Eleanor Whitfield showed up, a retired librarian with a steel backbone and a folder of secrets. She'd been in town since 1958, collected every deed and map nobody else cared about. She brought me an 1892 hand-drawn map, the key to everything. Sterling Point, she said, was named for Captain Josiah. Sterling, my ancestor, who'd been granted water rights in perpetuity by the state. Turns out the military only leased those rights. The lease expired in 1991. For the last 33 years, every structure built out here, marina docks, even Celeste's precious developments, were sitting illegally on Sterling family property. I spent my savings verifying it. 3 legal experts signed off. I could claim millions in back rent, or if I wanted, tear down everything Celeste and her cronies had built. I gathered allies, David Newen, an attorney she'd run out, Captain Rodriguez, whose boat business she tried to destroy, Sophia Blackwood, an investigative journalist who'd been building a case for a year. Sophia's spreadsheet showed $200 million in stolen value shell companies and bribes. With FBI Special Agent Walsh on our side, we had a plan. Auction day came, Celeste at the podium, her judge husband in the front row, all the HOA bigwigs preening like they'd already won. I waited in the back, my briefcase holding the real weapon documentation. When she announced the auction, I stepped forward, told the crowd, "You can't auction what you don't own." Showed them the map, played the audio of Celeste taking bribes, put her crimes on the loudspeaker. Celeste's husband tried to shout me down. That's when the FBI rolled up black SUVs, blue windbreakers, the whole show. Celeste Harrington, Bradford Harrington. You're under arrest for RICO violations, wire fraud, money laundering, conspiracy. The sound of those cuffs, let me tell you, I'll remember it forever. The crowd fell apart in chaos, neighbors shouting, half in shock, some in tears, some angry. I stood on the podium, held up the map, told everyone, "For 33 years, you've been paying fees to an HOA that never had the right." I wasn't there to squeeze them, though I waived any claims against the homeowners who'd been victims too. All I wanted was testimony to bring Celeste and her crew down. The mood shifted, stories poured out, decades of fear and extortion suddenly out in the open. By afternoon, the marina was a crime scene. The news vans parked out front. Sophia's reporting became national news. The FBI found international money laundering. Celeste was trying to sell the bay to a Dubai fund for $300 million. Her empire crumbled. The trial, held far from Bradford's courtroom, was open and shut. Celeste broke down on the stand, confessed to discrimination, racketeering, all of it. 18 years, no parole. Bradford got 12, lost his license. The money, nearly $90 million, was seized and repurposed, repairs, victim compensation, scholarships for local kids, even a community sailing program. The real ending, though, came after the noise died down. The new HOA board, made up of folks Celeste had wronged, ditched all the silly aesthetic rules, no more fines for gardens or boat colors or unauthorized wildlife. The winds came back. The Hendersons got their compensation and a new cottage. I set up a maritime conservation trust with my share, turned my lower level into a museum showcasing not just military history but the story of fighting corruption with law, not violence. Sophia and I built a life together. She moved and brought laughter back to rooms that had felt empty since Sarah passed. We hosted field trips, taught kids about the Bay, the law, and standing up to bullies. Even Celeste wrote from prison, her handwriting smaller humility or something close to it showing through. You gave me a chance to leave someday to redeem myself. I thank you for not destroying my future. Now, 5 years on the Sterling precedent is the standard for HOA reform across the country. Hundreds of corrupt presidents out, millions recovered for victims. The floating shack Celeste tried to auction is now a symbol of community over corruption, of law over violence. The knife I almost used hangs in a shadow box in the museum, a plaque beneath it. The choice between destruction and restoration. Sometimes late at night I think about how close I came to becoming the villain I was fighting. But I chose the hard path, and in doing so helped save not just a house, but an entire community's soul. So here's my question. What would you have done in my shoes? Gone for revenge or restoration? Would you press the law or pick up the knife? Let me know in the comments. Seriously, I want to hear your stories. Hit like if you believe in standing up to bullies the right way. Share this. If you've ever tangled with an HOA nightmare, and don't forget to drop your state. I want to know where these battles are brewing next. Thanks for listening. The story's yours, now do something good with it.